right, it's 9 minutes after 8, and it's time for today's Quest newspaper review. I am Annie Abdesalam. Welcome on board. We'll be going through the papers this morning, and as usual, we'll have a thoughts on it, and then we'll proceed to the top of our 9 o'clock, where we expect to deal with the opinion poll after the news update. It's a lovely Thursday morning, 27th day of how the hell did I get to September? 27th day of February 2020. I guess because I was thinking of the rains, and September will probably be one of the months where we're at the peak season for the rains here in the Niger Delta, so to say. But I'm rather shocked that we've got into the end of February and still very dry land around us. If there's anything else that speaks to me of, changes in environment, is this. We've been talking a lot here on climate change. Perhaps you've been catching on that too, with the so many foundations that are championing this issue and saying, you know what, as much as these changes are subtle, we must understand the dire changes it will bring to our lives eventually, if we don't do anything to start reversing it. We recently spoke to a lecturer at Uniport on these issues. I think that had to do with the terrible heat waves that we've been going through. And he mentioned the fact that we need to start planting trees. We chop them down for pretty much everything, for paper, for furniture, and we're not doing much to replenish. And for firewood, yes, it's a means of fuel to cook. So we've got to replenish, plant a tree today. And perhaps the seasons might just go back to what they used to be. For once, maybe Emmanuel will say he misses the rains. Emmanuel Ndukwe, good morning.
Good morning, Annie. Good morning, Nigeria. The rains are always, even if you think you miss it, it has to come when it must.
Yes, but at least you want it to come now, don't you?
Well, the heat is too much.
Now, that's the closest we can ever get Emmanuel to say, I want the rains. If you know how he doesn't like the rains. All right, then let's move on to the papers now. This is The Guardian. We'll be going through The Guardian. Supreme Court's verdict on Bielsa is final. That's what we have there in The Guardian. Supreme Court's verdict on Bielsa is final. And mild drama as Mongonu and Kari meet in Aso Rock. Mild drama as Mongonu and Kari meet in Aso Rock. I wonder why it's mild. Aren't there fireworks and everything? Court bars federal government agencies from deducting Rivers funds over disputed oil wells. That's also in The Guardian newspaper. Court bars federal government agencies from deducting Rivers funds over disputed oil wells. NIWA moves to sanitize water transportation on nation's waterways. NIWA moves to sanitize water transportation on nation's motorways. That's also in The Guardian newspaper this morning. And then we have here in The Guardian, Nigeria's recession buffer weak as coronavirus drives oil near $47 per barrel. Nigeria's recession buffer weak as coronavirus drives oil near $47 per barrel. That story is in The Guardian. And then you have also restructuring as inevitable option before Nigeria. Restructuring as inevitable option before Nigeria. And also here we have Niger Delta, an old story with a new plot. Niger Delta, an old story with a new plot. And finally, an unstoppable war and the immovable four. I wonder who or what the immovable four is. We'll find out when we get to that story. It's in The Guardian newspaper. So let's move on to the stories proper. Supreme Court's verdict on Bielsa is final. And it says here, it is a signal to remind Nigerians that the decision on any matter is final. On the gubernatorial election in Bielsa, the Supreme Court's message, it's clear. It will resist any attempt to belittle its dignity and finality. The Apex Court demonstrated this yesterday when it dismissed applications filed by the All Progressives Congress and its governorship candidate in Bielsa State, David Leon, and Bio Parakomodegi Eremenio, seeking a review of its February 13th judgment. In the judgment, the Apex Court voided the election of Leon and his deputy, Degi Eremenio, for perjury. But not satisfied with the verdict, the APC and its candidates returned to the Supreme Court asking it to review the judgment. The court, however, dismissed the two applications filed and argued on behalf of the applicants by their counsel, Chief Afe Babalola and Chief Wole Olanipekun, on the grounds that they were without merit and amounted to an abuse of court process. A 7-man panel headed by Justice Sylvester Nguta in a unanimous judgment described APC's request for a review of the judgment that voided the participation of its candidate in the Bielsa governorship election as vexatious, frivolous, and an abuse of court process. Justice Amina Auji, who read the lead judgment, noted that the applications were an attempt to make the court violate its rules and the provision of the Constitution, which makes it the final court of the land. The justice further held that the applications, if granted, had the capacity to belittle the dignity and the status of the court and open a floodgate for such requests in the future. The court also expressed regret that senior lawyers in the country could be involved in the filing of such applications, which it further described as regrettable motions and a deliberate desecration of the judiciary. Justice Algi consequently awarded 10 million naira cost against APC and its candidate in favor of each of the respondents, PDP, its governorship and deputy governorship candidates in the last election, Senator Duoderi and Lawrence. I'm not yet qualified to pronounce Lawrence's surname, so we'll skip that. The court ordered that the fine be paid personally by the applicants' lawyers, Babalola, who represented the first and second applicants, and Olani Pekun, who represented the APC. Justice Algi said, "I feel like shedding tears that senior counsel in this case would ever bring this kind of frivolous applications during my lifetime." According to the court, by Order 8, Rule 16 of the Supreme Court, the court has no powers or authority to review any judgment delivered on merit, save for clerical error. This court is not authorized and indeed lacks jurisdiction to review any judgment delivered on merit, more so when the applicants have not pointed out any accidental error or slip in the judgment. There must be an end to every litigation. All right, Emmanuel. Well, at least for Bielsa, we've got that strong wording from the Supreme Court.
You know, when it happened, the review was filed for and all that. I just, if it were maybe Mbaka, they would have said it prophesied. But it's Emmanuel Ndukwe, no prophecy. I said, truly, that it will indeed ridicule the Supreme Court should they go on a venture to review that judgment. No, they can't do it. Because it will mean that they don't know what, it was just some on the spot, the moment they handed over the judgment. For that alone. And again, they will also find the lawyers. They may, that's the way I put it, at least I'm a human, that they may find the lawyers, because I know it was going to be the senior lawyers. And when I heard Olani Kweku and Afeba, I said, God.
They dragged in the big ones.
Whatever be the case, but they also are fined. I know that, you see, the review we talk about, the Supreme Court will give them the chance. Let's hear them. But at hearing them, nothing will drag them to review. Do you know what it means? That means there will be no, you know, the way I put it, I said yesterday that it will amount to foiling the Supreme Court like a flag if they review that particular judgment. So whatever
they say they can review as long as it's for clerical issues.
Good. And so
there's an error somewhere, a grammar, something, maybe that.
Yes, but now there's none of such. But then, you know, after Babalola and Olani Kweku still hold on to whatever.
And then they've been fined 10 million naira. They've got to pay that to the respondents.
They have money also.
It'll be nothing, I guess. Well, I'd like to hear what happens in Imo State. Well, we also have joining us Precious UDK Esquire, who's a Port Harcourt-based legal practitioner and a member Nigerian Bar Association Port Harcourt branch. Good to see you here in the studio. So what are your thoughts? The fact that you've got SANS who take this to court and the court says, look, we feel like shedding tears that, you know, senior lawyers like this will even be part of this. Does that make any sense to you?
Sure it does. My colleagues and I were discussing yesterday and we said if it had been those of us who are younger in the profession, they would have referred us to the disciplinary committee. But then they are senior lawyers. That money means nothing to them. It means nothing to them. You see, there are times even as a professional when these briefs will come, you should be able to look at the briefs and say, tell your client the truth. This one cannot fly. You need to explore other options. You need to accept the fact that the decision has come for whatever it is worth. It is now the law, and you have to go by it. There is nothing. I had also known that it would have been very difficult for the Supreme Court to review that judgment, because if they do, it will be a call to anarchy, because any decision they so give, you just put pressure from here and there, and then they review it. Then there will be no finality to its judgment again. So I commend the Supreme Court for taking this stand. You see, most times it is one thing to make an error. It is another thing trying to correct that error. Trying to correct it could even attract more publicity than the error itself if care is not taken. So the Supreme Court did well to have stamped its seal on whatever people seem to call error in the judgment. The judgment has come, and that is now the law. For Imo State, we see await the outcome.
Well, surprisingly, Imo State did the application before that of Bielsa, right?
But they looked at it, and then whatever, they shifted it. And so it's within their powers to do that kind of thing.
The legal team of Ihedion has come to say, no, our own is different from this Bielsa own.
Oh, really? What's theirs? What is theirs?
They've come to say theirs is the fact that in the first place, the Supreme Court should not have even added those votes. They've come to make arguments that, of course, there is a need most times for us to distinguish between two cases, to say mine is different from that.
We always say that there are no two cases that are exactly alike.
Yes, but what I know for a fact is that the court will not be tempted to review whatever it has already decided. I am minded to say that, well, for certain reasons, the Supreme Court decided to take first that of the bias being filed by the APC. Now, by the time they turn, you see, the PDP had already come to say they will fight to review the president's decision. The president.
We have that of Kano. You have,
of course. So that would have been a very difficult situation in the country.
It was beginning to already speak a lot of danger when all that was popping up. Well, Supreme Court verdict on Bielsa is final. I saw a video yesterday of Doye and his team, praising and thanking God in some small circle. I guess it would finally worked out for them. Leon, there's always the next 4 years. I mean, if the people really rallied around you and the people really wanted you, well, you can always give it another shot in the next 4 years. And next time, be careful about the technicalities, because these things can kick you out of.
And this time, maybe he will pick a man with 3 words as his name, so that there won't be any addition and other.
It's just a very bitter pill to swallow.
I tell you.
Just take care of the technicalities. Because, I mean, the funny thing with Leon's case is that, I hear a lot of overwhelming support for him, even outside Bielsa. Not even speaking about, you hear people outside saying, I even wanted Leon to win.
That's true.
If I was in Bielsa, I would have voted for Leon. And then, of course, Leon didn't get it. Well, this is what it is. Moving on. Mild drama, as the person who I think is just laughing is the Saraika Dixon.
Yes.
He's just having a good laugh over this. Mild drama as Mogonu Carey meet in Aso Rock. Says after weeks of a reported rivalry between the chief of staff to the president, Abba Carey, and the National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Mogonu, retired, they met yesterday for the very first time. Carey and Mogonu were in the presidential villa Abuja to witness the inauguration of a 12-member National Assembly Service Commission by President Muhammadu Buhari. For weeks, the duo had been at daggers drawn, with the NSA accusing the COS of undue interference in matters bordering on national security, a role which is originally within the purview of his, Mongonu's office, among other scathing allegations. In a memo, the NSA had warned the president's all-powerful chief of staff against meddling in security affairs in the presidency. He also warned the nation's service chiefs to stop taking orders from Carey, a civilian, and be wary of his interferences. The memo addressed to the service chiefs and copied the president and ministers for foreign affairs, defense, interior, police affairs, and Carey himself was dated December 9, 2019. The two top officials have not met since the leaked memo penultimate Monday trended, while the presidency and the COS maintained a deafening silence. But the meeting in Aso Rock was inevitable. Neither of the two could avoid it, and it did not happen without a mild drama. First to arrive at the venue of the NSC event, Carey proceeded straight to his allotted chair in between the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, SGF Boss Mustafa, and the Head of Service of the Federation, HOSF, that's the Head of Service of the Federation, with the NSA sitting next. Mongonu sat 2 chairs away from Kerry, who was seen engaging in a discussion with the SGF. However, before the commencement of the scheduled ceremony, Kerry momentarily broke his chant and beckoned to the NSA to return to his originally allotted seat. But General Mongonu looked away. Eventually, Mongonu returned to his original seat after a second pause and a subtle plea by the COS. Both did not speak to each other. The melodrama took place shortly before the commencement of the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by President Buhari. Kerry has long been hailed as one of the most powerful men in Buhari's presidency and allegedly the head of a cabal accused of running the Buhari administration behind closed doors. The COS is known to be one of the president's closest aides. He plans Buhari's schedules while ministers are said to queue in his office to see the president. All right, but there's something about Kerry. The way he's able to, I don't know what to call it, manipulate, or it's allowed for me to even say manipulate, but I'm looking for the closest word to what's in my head, and it's manipulate.
Maneuver.
Maneuver, the situations and the people. I understood that after the president had the meeting with the service chiefs did go pay a courtesy visit to Mongonu and to Kerry, I beg your pardon. Whether that's procedural or if that is part of the processes, I beg your pardon, or if they were prompted to do so because of issues, the underlying issue, I have no idea. But they went to see the COS. And then here you have the COS who already knows that there got tensions rising. And then he's there acting like, I'm all the sweet one here. I'm the nice, good guy here. Please come back to your seat. I don't understand why we must bring this animosity to public view. And for me, this earns him brownie points. He just seems like he's the nice guy. Everybody's throwing salvo at him, and he's not done anything wrong. Look, he's there asking Mongo to please sit on your original seat. Don't act like a child.
Well,
and then Mongo first throws his face away. And after a second plea, please sit, be a gentleman, sit. And he eventually, succumbs and takes his original seat. Why did he even leave his original seat in the first place?
Yeah, he's peeved. Simply by whatever he perceives as the going wrong. Well, the truth is that I think that's maturity on part of Kerry. Is it Kerry or whatever? It's not because, things are going the right way or going the wrong way. But he wants to keep an atmosphere that is very mature. Forget about this, Mongo. When we go back, we could start hitting ourselves. But let us not watch our dirty linen in the public. What happened?
Remember, it was still Kerry too. Then that time with the head of civil service that had that issue too.
It's true.
At the FEC meeting.
What was Eta? So the thing is that I don't understand one thing. Why is the president just
quiet? The president is quiet about it. Well, there's nothing to see.
Well, let the mild drama, continue.
They said it's a mild drama. All right, let me get your thoughts here, Precious UTK.
Well, first I would have to. You see, it is the sin of power squabble and basic supremacy. You don't expect a man like Kyrie to, as the chief of staff of the president. Yes, we say the office is not constitutional, but that office has very enormous responsibilities placed under it. We don't expect him to fold his arms and allow the staffers of the president not deliver whatever is expected of them. Now, first, if it had been any other president, remember I said this power squabble, they are all wanting this quest for supremacy over the other. And for whatever we give to read, that Kyrie has emerged to be a man at the top of his game, that's kudos for him. I am very constrained not to go into, say, the veracity or the wise, the legitimacy or the wise of service chiefs paying homage or reporting directly to a man who otherwise is not the chief security officer of the country or the commander-in-chief. That is just on the other side of our discourse. But that Kyrie has been able to master his art of political gimmicks, superiority, or whatever we call it. I think it's kudos for him. Now, you also watch from what you read there in the public scene, the two of them met. One would have expected that the National Security Advisor, having raised his concerns to the president, two things are expected of him. If you think the administration or Mr. President is not doing well, if you think Mr. President has subjected you to report to an officer you ordinarily should not report to, why not back out? Why not resign? That is what a gentleman should do. You chronicle whatever you want to chronicle and tell the world that for so and so reasons chronicled, I do not want to be part and parcel of this administration. But he has remained part of it, having raised the concern, and it appears nothing has changed after the concern is raised. It doesn't tell well that in a public function, he starts behaving childish. So I also once again commend Kyrie for calling him to order. Go back to your seat. Let's sit closely. It doesn't change nothing. All we are doing is the interest of our service to the nation.
Right.
So, but there is a need for Mr. President to at least do something. Even though I should expect the presidential spokesman to make a statement to this, even though it's for him to deny the fact that they don't report to the chief of staff to the president, but they interface with him for various reasons. That should be okay. But this silence is deafening and is condemnable.
The silence is loud. All right, moving on. Court bars federal government and agencies from deducting rivers funds over disputed oil wells. A federal high court sitting in Abuja has restrained the federal government and its agencies from deducting revenues accruable to Rivers State over the disputed Mbede and Akiri oil wells. Justice Taiwo gave the order yesterday in response to an originating summons filed by the Attorney General of Rivers State against the Attorney General of the Federation, Attorney General of Imo State, Accountant General of the Federation, the Revenue, Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission, and the Minister of Finance. The Attorney General of Rivers State has, in an originating summons, filed the suit against the defendants pursuant to an Order 3, Rule 6, 7, and 9 of a Federal High Court Civil Procedures Rule 2019, Section 7 of the National Boundary Commission Establishment Act, Section 162 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, and the jurisdiction of the Federal High Court as preserved by Section 6, Sub 6 of the Constitution. Rivers State government had gone to court shortly after immediate past governor of Imo State, Emeka Ihedioha, had written the president demanding revenue from the federal account in respect of Mbede and Akiri oil wells. Justice Taiwo declared that the Rivers State government was entitled to continue to receive and retain revenues from the Federation account and other accounts maintained for the purpose in respect of revenue derived from oil wells within Rivers State territory based on the 13% derivation formula currently applied by the fourth defendant. He also said that Rivers State government was entitled to receive and retain revenue from the Federation account as provided under the 1999 Constitution in respect of the revenue derived from these oil wells located in Rivers State territory. The judge stated that the president and federal government, represented by the Attorney General of the Federation, were not entitled to give directives to the Minister of Finance regarding the distribution of public revenue from the distributable pool account, including the Federation accounts. The court also ruled that the government of Imo State, represented by the second defendant, was not entitled to alter, deny, or cause to be denied, whether through the President of Nigeria or the federal government, represented by the first defendant, or any manner howsoever, the revenue due to Rivers State government in accordance with the principle and formula for distributing public revenues for the time being under the Constitution. Justice Taiwo also declared that until the conflicting claims over Akiri and Mbede oil wells by Rivers State and Imo were resolved by the National Boundary Commission, Minister of Finance could not deny Rivers State its due share of public revenue. Emmanuel.
Very simple. That until the dispute is settled, you don't transfer in any form at all. Not even because the president is behind you. No, you don't do that. That is according to the law. So it has to be complied with. if the Akere and Mbede or whatever is disputed, original people that owned it before the dispute arose is revested. And so they have to be taking whatever comes from it until it's resolved. That's simply what I understand from that. And I think that's the position of the law at the court. So they take to it.
All right, then. Got your thoughts on that. Precious Udikim?
Yes, that is what in law we say maintaining status quo. If before both parties went to court, the State government had been receiving it, and then all the court needs to do is maintain status quo, let the person who is receiving keep receiving, pending when the court decides otherwise. I would have expected the legal team of on the other divide, that's the Imo State government, to ask the court that the money should be paid into an escrow account, but I'm not holding brief for them. I'm a Rivers man, so whatever that is there should remain. Let Rivers State keep receiving it, using it to develop the state. Then the boundary adjustment, the boundary commission, there's a need for them to be a bit proactive in their responsibilities. All they need to do is to delineate most of these things. Let's know where and where fall into so and so state. And I'm aware that several states are in court over issues related to boundary and all that. I keep wondering why such issues cannot be resolved out of court. Most times what the court uses to give judgment is what is brought before the court. So if you bring things outside the truth, the court may be tempted to decide on what you brought, because the court cannot go on the voyage of discovery.
All right.
So the status quo has to be maintained. We have to continue to use it to develop our states.
Okay, got your thoughts on that. Opaka Dokovo joins us, is a former chairman, NUJ River State. Good to have you. Good morning.
Good morning, and happy Lenten season.
Okay, that's true. Happy Lenten season. Good to have you. Let's get your thoughts on this here. Lenten season is not stopping the courts. They've barred federal government. They've barred the federal government and agencies from deducting Rivers funds over disputed oil wells. They said, at least till we've resolved these issues. And yet again, we have the issue of the National Boundary Commission. I know that there's also an issue with oil wells with Bayelsa State, and it's still the National Boundary Commission that's in the middle of all of this. So what are your thoughts here?
I think that's where eventually everything lies. Let the boundary commission be up and doing. And I don't know, the last time states were created so many years ago, and then up till now we still have issues. I mean, it doesn't speak well of our institutions like the boundary commission. These things should have been finally put to rest. You keep bringing about one map and after another, and then all of issues are still arising over and over, and we're getting into years and years. I don't see it. You see, a lot of these issues don't come up until we don't get to hear a lot of these things until, there's money to be made somewhere. And then you see the states fighting. Go and look at all that places that are maybe not so money making. Everybody is quiet and doing their thing.
There's nothing to drag.
Until oil comes out of there, and then
suddenly we know that stone is supposed to be where it starts. After that stone is where mine starts from.
We don't really need to go through this all over again. Let the Boundary Commission rise up to its own duties.
All right then. Nigeria's recession buffer week as coronavirus drives oil near 47 barrels per dollar. $47 per barrel. There's 47 barrels per dollar. $47 per barrel. Nigeria's recession buffer week as coronavirus drives oil near $47 per barrel. With the impact of the coronavirus taking a toll on oil demand and the economy in general, the fear of another recession appears to be imminent as oil price dropped to $53 per barrel amidst falling external reserves and excess crude account. Indeed, oil prices are trading below the federal government's benchmark at $57 per barrel for the 2020 budget, thus posing a threat to the 2020 budget, which was signed by President Muhammadu Buhari in December on the assumption of oil production of 2.18 million barrels per day. Similarly, Nigeria's latest excess crude account balance, according to a statement from the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, was put at $71.81 million, while movement in reserves showed that the country's reserves stood at $36.46 billion, down by $2.07 billion from $38.53 billion in which it opened the year. With an earlier projection by Citigroup that Brent crude may slide to as low as $47 per barrel in the wake of the coronavirus that is yet to be contained. The federal government has been exploring various means of generating revenue to buffer the effect of unstable oil prices through increment in value-added tax, review of extant legislation, among others. Brent oil yesterday dropped to $53.80 at about 3:41 p.m. GMT, while Nigeria's Bonny Light stood at $56.15. Members of the organized private sector equally expressed concerns about growing insecurity in the country, saying an unsafe environment poses a major risk to investment, even as Nigeria recorded no improvement in global security perception. Yesterday, also, analysts at SBM Intelligence said the Nigerian economy is at risk of a recession as the outbreak has resulted in a drop in crude oil prices. I mean, if we remember, one of the reasons why we hit recession then was the drop in oil prices at the time, and also our inability to produce that much and export. If now in the indices that shows that demand for oil is dropping thanks to coronavirus that unfortunately is not yet tamed, and the fact that all the sources of generating revenue within Nigeria are very slim, and you also have a very present case of insecurity.
What I do not understand is the link. Is it that expatriates will not come? You see, I don't understand why the thing is dropping.
Yeah, what is dropping?
The coronavirus is causing the drop in oil.
Well, a lot of places are shutting down, restricting movement. They're not engaging in there's a lot of slowdown in international activities because, well, they're trying to contain where the virus moves from. In Italy that they recently discovered, there are several places in Italy that had to shut down businesses because, well, they're trying to contain it and say, well, stay at home until we discover whether you have it so we don't pass it on. This is slowing general movement. And then with that, businesses are slowing down. Governments and nations that will usually be interested in buying these things are not so interested in it, as what their most priority now is checking the health of their nations.
Well, I think it only shows how bad it is to have a mono-economic situation. Because of coronavirus, now it's affecting almost everywhere. And those who have oil in terms of international connections and all that will not have it as buoyant as it used to be. And that means Nigeria, where else will they hold on to? That is it. So there is nothing, we have no control over it. Well, if it becomes $30.
Precious UDK.
Yes, I'm not oblivious of the fact that this coronavirus issue is really negatively affecting the world economy. My cousin who's in China for studies, he traveled last year December. He said their first course would have been to be learning Chinese language, but that when he arrived, they started for almost a month or some weeks now. They've stopped them from coming out and going for classes. That everywhere there appears to be at a standstill. So I can understand why it is negatively affecting the prices of oil and all that. But then we come back to what we had always been x-raying here. Yes, the oil benchmark by the budgeting is pegged at $57 per barrel, and then there is a drop. What do we do? The question keeps ringing. Do we continue to depend on oil solely as a nation, irrespective of the fact that yes, we got oil in abundance? There is also a need for us to diversify, because one day oil is not a renewable source of energy for one day we can wake up tomorrow and there is no oil inside the ground again. What do? Will the country be shut down? So we must have to wake up as a nation to think of possible ways to diversify our economy. There are supervening circumstances. There are supervening happenstance like this coronavirus issue that can come up and change the dynamics in a twinkle of an eye. So there is a need for us sincerely to come back, sit down, tinker out ways to diversify our economy and stop this over-reliance on oil. If not, it would not end well for us as a nation, although I don't predict doom.
All right, we've got your thoughts on that one there. All right, then get to Opaka Dokobon.
As the man was asking, what's the connection? We even here for the 5th day running, as that yesterday, world stock markets have been on the downward slide. So it's a serious problem for the entire world. And I think at every turn, we keep getting this signal that, look, we cannot continue to depend on oil. And I think everything together for me worked for good. If only we will wake up early enough to the reality of the situation that we cannot continue this way. I think for me, much as I would want the world, this is a world, it's no longer limited to any kind of, any particular area now. It's the entire world that is affected. Much as we pray that they quickly find a solution to this matter, this COVID-19 or whatever issue. Nigeria, every other thing, whenever the international community, sneezes there, we catch cold.
Exactly.
It is not the best for us. A lot of other countries are also oil producing, but they don't appear to be as affected as we are. The simple reason being the fact that our own is almost solely and dependent on this. We cannot continue like this as a nation if we have to progress and move forward.
All right, that story is in the Guardian newspaper. Nigeria's recession buffer weak as coronavirus drives oil near $47 per barrel. And then another story here in the Guardian newspaper, restructuring as inevitable option before us or before Nigeria. The debate over whether a particular section of Nigerians or some personalities do not buy into the agitation of Nigeria being restructured to true federalism or adopt full autonomy and resource control model of governance as a better system to what the current 1999 constitution offers is no longer an option but a must, demanding to be addressed now. It has indeed become obvious that the country is tilted towards implosion if those in power continue to overlook the agitation to tinker with the current system of government. This is against the background that almost all the ethnic nationalities that make up the country, except the so-called infamous cabal, have agreed that the constitution is not only faulty and retrogressive, but also unhealthy for the country, whose progress and development it has stunted. Even the erstwhile People's Democratic Party, which was in control of the federal government from 1999 to 2015, but failed to address the subject, has come full circle to realize that Nigeria will not move forward unless the present system is adjusted. Unlike the PDP, the ruling All Progressives Congress, which campaigned on the basis of restructuring but later jettisoned it after getting into power, has also realized it is an inevitable option, but implementation is long overdue. What has, however, made restructuring more urgent is the worsening insecurity and latest option of self-help via regional security initiatives. Regional security initiatives are springing up, and the enthusiasm with which they are being embraced by the generality of the populace shows that there is little or no commitment to Nigeria as a corporate entity and an indication of clear signs of a country whose centrist leader have failed to meet the aspirations of Nigerians. These are the issues, Emmanuel. So it seems that both sides understand, I say both sides, PDP, APC, and everybody else in between understands that restructuring may be inevitable if we're looking for a better Nigeria. But yet here we are. We talk about it almost every day in different talk shops. And it seems it's more of a lot of talk and very little action towards that. If at all, any action that's any semblance to that is the regional security structures that seem to be popping up. But nothing from the form of government or legislation that says, look, we're taking this as the next step to get into a better Nigeria.
Well, it's a very difficult thing for me to believe that all the, let's say, the political parties, they know the importance of restructuring. Because if they do, why is it that none is making any headway towards its implementation? You remember the APC, I don't know how clearer it can be, has it in its manifesto. But as soon as they assume...
They even had El Rufai go around and do...
So now, after everything, they now put whatever El Rufai gathered in the cooler. Why are they so centrist? Like that, they love it. They don't want anything that could make every side of the country be very autonomous in a way. Not that they have removed what yoked us together. No, it's just giving certain powers to people to be autonomous and then be doing everything and then still be harnessing the federal government. Yet they don't. Well, the only thing is that, what anybody seems not to yield at all. Leave it for the person. When it collapses on all of us. Yes.
All right. Okay. Precious Udike.
Well, you see, we have been parading the use of this word restructure. Lately, I've lost interest in it. Why I did so is not far-fetched. To me now, I do not think what we need is the nomenclature restructure. What we need in this country is attitudinal change. I do not think we don't have enough laws to better Nigeria. But I think we have persons who are so weak to implement the law and subject themselves to the law. You go to police stations, you see bail is free. The laws are there that the police officer should not take money to release somebody on bail. But those things are just written there for whatever it is worth. Nobody obeys him. Doesn't that also tell us that even though we restructure, if we Nigerians are not ready to take very manifest steps in bettering our country, things will still not get better? To me, it doesn't have to do with having... It does not all have to do with having a state police, which is part of the true federalism. It does not all have to do with having a state Supreme Court, which is within the circumference of true federalism. We can have these things and Nigeria will still not work. Those of us who have not had access to power, what is our attitude to things? If we have access to power today, are we ready to change the narratives, or we continue from where this person... With today, the APC that is at the helm of affairs of the federal government criticized all these things when PDP was in power. What has changed? To me, we have enough laws to better Nigeria, but what we lack is a moral content to take very manifest steps in implementing things that we get Nigeria. Look at the National Assembly. They will say, we need to look, let's patronize the made in Nigerian products, let's do this, and that. The same National Assembly refused to use innocent vehicles. The same National Assembly has proposed up to 5 point something billion or more just for vehicles. And you tell me that what we are lacking is the laws to better Nigeria. No. What we are lacking the individuals who are passionate, who are ready.
Is it really laws? Is restructuring more about laws?
No.
Or that the laws, whatever they may be, we need to be able to have them closer to the peoples, in smaller bits. I think that's, for me, restructuring itself is not new laws being brought on board, but that let the governance space be smaller than what we have now?
Well, it all depends on how you look at it.
Exactly.
For me, what is restructuring? We have to amend the constitution first to allow state police. We have to amend the constitution to allow the states to have access to resources.
Yeah.
Control their resources and use them. What I'm saying is, even though you make those laws today, restructuring is change the laws to allow certain things to take to take effect. Even though you do those things today, and we are not yet ready. If we do those things, and the persons at the helm of affairs are not ready to take various steps to better Nigeria, nothing will still change. So let's hold our leaders first responsible, and let the fellowship too also be ready to do better when they get access to
power. Let me hear from Opaka real quickly. We've got to go. All right.
Honestly, I believe we are moving dangerously, and nobody. We are like people who have stopped our ears, that we are refusing to hear anything, we are refusing to see anything, and we are moving dangerously. See, whether we like it or not, Nigeria, we have come to a point where we must sit down on the round table. For me, it's not even about what is it called? What are they doing with the Constitution? Review. It's not a review anymore.
It's not.
We have come so far. We need to sit down and give ourselves a fresh Constitution and see the terms of our living together. We must redefine them.
Is that not still going to be a review? In any which case you look at it, it's still a review of the Constitution. Because in reviewing the Constitution, you can remove a whole lot of it.
No, what I mean by that is that remove it from the people in the National Assembly now. You can't take it there and then expect a different.
They're interested parties.
All right. Okay. we got your thoughts. We've got to go. Thanks so much. All right, the news update will be coming up at the top of the hour. Just stay with us.
Are you ready? Today, 95.1 FM, the voice of the people.
It's 57 minutes after 8, and we've got here Geraldine from Odibola Properties. Geraldine, good to have you. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so let's get to hear your thoughts on what Odibola is doing now. Share your thoughts with us on that. Do you think that we should buy properties now?
Yes.
Now?
Yes, now.
I hear issues of possible recession on board. Will that affect properties, do you think?
Not exactly, because once you're in a business and you have done the necessary things that you need to do, that's following the law, then you shouldn't be scared of anything that is coming, because you know you're on the right track.
All right.
Yes, I'll say good morning to those of you that are listening to me, and it's Geraldine that is here, and we're talking about properties. Odibola Properties is here again. For you that have dreams of wanting a home of luxury, a secured environment, a place where you can raise your kids, that's a home of love, an environment where you can communicate with your neighbors and have peace of mind. We have properties for you. That is why you should think of Odibola Properties, because you can do business with us and go to sleep. We take care of your real estate problems, your real estate, so that you won't have to think about it too much, because we are experts and consultants in those areas. So we do the necessary due diligence for you. Maybe those basic questions that you might have in mind that you don't know how to go about it, that's why Odibola Property is here for you. And for those that are like, oh yes, I want to own a home, I want to be okay, but I don't really have time to build, also, yes, Odibola has you covered. We have our treasure court at GRA. You want to live in that kind of environment, we have our treasure court at GRA, and it's a terrace apartment, 4-bedroom apartment, so you can key into that. And if you're like, oh, I want to build the kind of building I like, we have property for you at Obirikwere in our estate, our Glory Cottage at Obirikwere. You can build your home, your dream home, the kind of house that you want. You can have that there. And if you're like, okay, I'm not ready to build now, I just want to get as much plots as I can so that I can resell later, or maybe I'll build later, or I want to have a place where I want to expand my business, I want to have my shop or my school in Greater Port Harcourt region, we have that. We have a property off Igritali School Road, and the residential area is going for 850. We have that's the commercial area, which is 4 plots in 1 block, and it's going for just 4 million. So you can actually get 4 plots for commercial purpose for just 4 million, and you can invest in that. And trust me, those of you that are hearing me now, you should take advantage of the information you are getting, because there's a reason why you are getting this information now, because we know that you want to invest. It's just that maybe you're possibly scared, or you're still thinking, or you're still procrastinating, because we know most of you have the budget to invest in those properties. So we are encouraging you to come out. That's why we keep saying come out, come book for inspection. We usually have an inspection on Wednesday. Like yesterday, we took some clients to go and see these properties, and this Saturday we also have inspection where you can see these properties, where they are located. So it's not just we are describing where it is. At this one, you get to see it for yourself, and you know the kind of business you want to do, or the kind of home you want to build, and you say, okay, this is the type that I want. Then the one that everyone is delighted to invest in is our invest and travel promo that is still ongoing.
Oh, yeah.
We still have some slots for you, yes. And this property is immediately after the new international airport, and we are working on the road. We have started the perimeter fencing. We have installed electric poles, and also we have done the transformer base. And trust me, in that area, you see that development is fast growing. So one thing as an investor you have to look out for these areas, how fast developing is that place. And once you see that place is fast developing, you need to invest now that you have the opportunity, not so that you can now.
Those who want to invest, what should they do?
Okay, for you that wants to come and see the property, you can actually book for an inspection this Saturday. All you have to do is call me on 070 6452 5131. I'll call the number again, 070 6452 5131, or come to our office at Inyewale Nsirim Layout off Tombia Extension, Jerry Phase 3 to get more information. And one unique thing about our Quiet Heaven Layout Phase 2 is that you don't just get your property, you also get your deed of conveyance and your registered survey plan free from all our property. We give you your documentation, and that is it.
Geraldine, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
All right, this is where we wrap up. Stay with us. News update next.
This is Today 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt, voice of the people.
Today 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt. News update.
Hello and good morning. Here's the news update on Today 95.1 FM. I am Annie Abdul Salam. The Federal High Court in Abuja has restrained the federal government and her agencies from deducting funds meant for River State in respect of the Mbede and Akiri oil wells. Justice Tawo gave the ruling in an originating summons filed by the Attorney General of River State against the Attorney General of the Federation and the Attorney General of Imo State, the Accountant General of the Federation, Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission, and the Minister of Finance. The immediate past Imo State Governor Emeka Ihedioha had written to President Muhammadu Buhari demanding revenue from the federal account in respect of Mbede and Akiri oil wells. But the River State government went to court over the matter, where the court declared that River State government is entitled to continue to receive and retain revenue from the Federation account and other accounts maintained for the purpose in respect of revenue derived from oil wells within the territory of River State based on the 13% derivation formula currently applied by the fourth defendant, who is the Minister of Finance. The River State branch of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria has confirmed that some trucks belonging to its members, which were seized by security agencies, have been released. Port Harcourt's unit chairman of IPMAN, Obele Ngechu, made the disclosure at a general meeting of IPMAN members in Port Harcourt. Ngechu said his members have also agreed to henceforth resolve the issues with authorities with negotiations instead of strike. The group also announced its resolution to partner with the Department of Petroleum Resources pipelines and product marketing company, and all security agencies in the state to combat criminal elements in the same line of business. The Nigerian Police Force has disengaged the Zonal Intervention Squad officer who was involved in the murder of the Remo Star Football Club player Tiamiu Kazim. Inspector Olani Ogunsoro's dismissal came following a recommendation sent to the Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of Zone 2 after the dismissed officer's trial by the Ogun State Police Command. Reports say Ogunsoro is presently undergoing disengagement proceedings of the service and is expected to soon be prosecuted. And then to the foreign scene, Human Rights Watch has accused Cameroonian forces of killing at least 21 civilians, including 13 children and one pregnant woman, in an attack in the country's troubled Anglophone region. The group alleges that government forces, along with Fulani militias, stormed the village of Nagabo on 14th of February. It is calling for an independent investigation into the killings by the United Nations, which called them a shocking episode. An eyewitness who escaped the attack by running into the bush said he returned to find that victims had been shot and their bodies burnt, then dumped in at least 3 mass graves. And with that, we wrap up on the news update here on Today 95.1 FM. Thank you for listening. Have a lovely morning.
Port Harcourt, are you ready? Today, 95.1 FM, the voice of the people.
Today is here. Yesterday is gone and unrecoverable. Tomorrow, you don't know what it holds, right? You have today. Yes, you heard me. You have today. The indisputable truth is that today is pregnant with both good and bad. You have freely been given today as a gift to see what you will make out of it. Permit me to be positive. Permit me to sideline the negative and magnify the good. Permit me to espouse on today. Today is great. Today is wonderful. Today is targetable and targets can be achieved. Today is domineering and you can be dominant. Today is a conqueror and goals can be conquered. Today is challenging and you can challenge yourself for the better. Today is cheerful. You can choose to be happy. Just in case you're sulking, saddened and feeling sorry for yourself. Enough of the wallow in self-pity. You have today. I mean today. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with a step. Take that step today. Opportunities are everywhere. Just be sensitive. Build on yourself and get ready for the opportunity. Be the best you can be today, because I see the sun smiling on you. This message is powered by Today
95.1 FM.
Voice of the people.
Radio has never been this good. Today, 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt.
All right, it's exactly 8 minutes after 9, and you're listening to Today 95.1 FM, Voice of the People. Great to have you here. Moving on with the show, I've got this moment where I'll be talking to Charles Ikena. He represents Solar World Energy Limited as the head sales and business. We've been here a couple of times in the past few days, and we've been talking about solar energy and what your company is doing in, making giant strides within that sector. And I do remember when you were here last, we spoke about the promo that's ongoing. So let me just quickly get to that promo first and speak about it before we get to what your company is doing at the moment. So good to have you, Charles Ikena.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so tell me about this promo again, because I know that we're almost wrapping up on that.
Well, it's 20%, 20% off on the inverter systems and solar systems that we have available, and we started since Monday, the 17th of February. That was last week, Monday, talking about it and giving out 20% of our products, inverter systems of any sizes, from 1 kVA. We have as much as 20 kVA. and then solar systems from 1 kilowatt to as much as 20 kilowatts. So that's what we've been talking about, and the responses have been quite amazing. I think it's understandable for two reasons. Number one, the weather is not been very friendly. It's been very hot. And a lot more people see the reason for them to have an alternative that will always guarantee them a dependable power supply, reliable power supply, which of course is inverter, or the solar. People are beginning to realize that generators, there are a lot of issues, particularly health hazards associated with using generators. You hear of generator fumes, you hear of all of the issues, you hear of carbon monoxide poisoning, you hear, of course, again, the noise is apparent and all of that. So I think that explains why we are having the kind of rush or the kind of patronage that we are having since we started talking about the 20% discount that we are offering. Again, is the huge cost savings. People see that you save a lot of money when you get these at 20% discounted rate, particularly when you see that what you see is what you get. So it makes a whole lot of sense. A system, for instance, that would have gone for 500,000, because it's 20% discounted, now you have to pay 400,000. So that's 100,000 naira off, so that you're saving.
Amazing.
So huge cost savings. So that's it.
All right. So, and this covers for inverters and the solar panels, like you said.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, inverters, solar systems, because you have people who have inverters already. There are a lot of people who have inverters, a lot of homes that have inverters already, but they don't have solar. So we are trying to encourage people to go solar. There are people who don't also have inverters at all, so we're encouraging them
And
to
your
buy the
company
inverter.
also does the installation?
Yes, it's a complete package.
All right.
Whatever anybody pays is all inclusive. The cost is the price is all inclusive.
For installation.
It includes installation
All right. So who
and accessories. Yes.
are your target customers here?
Well, everyone that needs electricity, whether they be offices, churches, mosques, business concerns, homes. But for us at Solar World Energy Limited, we are primarily about homes. We are trying as much as possible. We see that homes go through a lot to generate electricity. There's a whole lot of issues with homes trying to generate electricity. The woman particularly would want to have the things she has in the freezer or in the fridge properly refrigerated and not spoiling. So and then again, there is the need to use the television. There is a need for the air conditioner to be on. There is a need for the fans to be on. There is a need for the home to be very active. There is always the home is always more. There is better inspiration and activity when there is light.
Indeed.
You hear you hear children when they bring light.
It's like we operate on the supply itself. You know how when you turn off the television and everywhere is quiet.
Yes.
I think human beings to operate with light. Once there's power supply or electricity.
No, it's psychological.
We all get excited.
It's psychological, and you're more productive when you have light. Countries of the world where they have a reliable or dependable power supply, steady power supply, they're a lot more productive. In the urban areas where you have more light, the people are more productive. In the rural areas where you have less light, people are less productive. But we are primarily concerned about homes. We are trying to, and that's why we have a lot of home solutions that we're trying to give homes power using inverter systems and solar systems.
How has your sales promotion been so
It's
far?
It's been wonderful. The responses have been very, very encouraging. Yes.
All right. Last time you were here, you were talking about how, services are at a stretch. You have to so many orders and then you have to run around. So
yes.
It has been amazing. So what plans or options do you have for intending customers who might not be able to visit your office before Friday?
Yeah, Friday is tomorrow. We have barely 24 to 30 hours to go to the end of our sales promotion, 20% discount. But there are people that will always tell you that they don't have the time to come because they have office work to do. What we have actually designed for them is that we can send our sales representative to go meet with them